Welcome back, everybody, to Manifest This, Believer versus Skeptic. Today, we're talking about one of the most frustrating parts of manifestation, when it feels like nothing's happening. Does that ever happen to you, Sharon?
Yeah, it's the waiting room of manifestation, which has got to be my least favorite place. You're doing all the visualizing, you're doing all the affirmation, and crickets.
Exactly. But here's the thing. There's good news here. It's always working. Even when you can't see the results yet, you just might be looking in the wrong place. And don't forget, it is always working. So if that time between the ask and the get, right? The ask and the receive, you are wobbling all over the place, it's going to push it out further and you might get something that you didn't, well, you're vibing it, but you didn't ask for it and want it. So let's dive in.
Okay, you've got to help me with this one because this is a tough one for me.
It's a tough one for everybody. So last week we talked about Neville Goddard and the law of assumption, and Neville Goddard is the father of the law of assumption. And he basically said, signs follow, they do not precede. And that means that the results show up after you've shifted your inner state, not before. And there's always a lag there. So the faster you can get into the state of having received, the faster the physical evidence will show up.
Okay, so what you're saying is I'm not doing it wrong just because I haven't won the lottery in the last 2 weeks.
No, but the lottery itself as an ask has you have so much resistance against how that could ever happen. It's not a great example, but yes, exactly. I want you to think about this like turning a cruise ship. And Sharon, you will get this because of your experience on cruise ships. You've shifted the wheel, but it takes a long time for a ship that big to catch up with where you want it to go, because that rudder is ever so slightly moving the water. So think of it as turning your GPS to where you want to go, but that cruise ship is doing a very slow shift, which is usually how it happens for humans. It can happen faster, but your vibe is what will decide that.
Okay, so I need a bit of clarification because you mentioned that Neville Goddard said signs follow, they do not precede. So do you mean I don't get a sign that points to it, but I get evidence that follows it?
Yes. So think of the word science is probably not a good word. Evidence follows, right? It does not precede. So, for example, you can't declare today that, sorry, let's take the idea of weight loss. It's a good one. You can't say today, I want to be 50 pounds lighter and see it today if your brain is still thinking you're fat. Okay. So the evidence will not show up until your inner state believes without a shadow of a doubt that you are already the state that you wish to be. Does that make sense?
Okay, that makes sense.
So,
Okay.
so
So what's
let's
little signs of evidence?
Right. So let's talk about what I call micro evidence or proof that it's proof. What you can track right now are these tiny little micro shifts, the little things that show your assumption is starting to take root. Okay?
Okay. Okay, so what would that look like?
Little things. Like you really do need to be a little bit in tune here. So maybe your mood changes about something. Maybe you see something in a different perspective. Maybe, for example, Sharon, can we talk a little bit about how your mood has shifted? Little micro evidence around the fact that you went on a very special meeting last week.
Darn it, I shouldn't have told you. I knew you would weave that in.
Yeah, I know. So we don't have to go deep into it, but what we're talking about here is, well, you explain it and you explain the before and the after in terms of mood change.
So, as you know, I'm single and I'm one of those women who might occasionally, very, very occasionally, jump on those apps and just to sort of open it up in terms of opening up my heart and my thinking around it. And quite honestly, I like meeting new people. So, who knows? Except I'm in a demographic that's a little bit of a challenge because of my preferences. Let's put it that way.
Because of what you just said, but carry on.
Yes, I knew you were going to tell me that. Anyhow, just so happens that I was in a conversation with an individual. It was light, it was fun, and we decided to meet. And under normal circumstances, it's like, ugh, I'm tired. I'd rather watch another episode of Star Trek, whatever it was. But I thought, okay, girl, like get out there. It's an evening. It's a drink or two in a beautiful place. Just go enjoy that and enjoy another human being, which I did. And it was a lovely evening. And the funny part of it was, will it go anywhere? No, for a number of different types of reasons, not the least of which is he lives overseas. But what I was mentioning earlier to Jennifer was that it was fascinating to me to see that when I sort of dropped the expectations or the artifice and thought, I just want to meet another human being and have a lovely evening, that's exactly what happened. So I guess the micro evidence would be it was a light conversation because I had no expectations of the individual or of myself. We were just out enjoying each other's company. So I just thought that was fascinating.
Yeah, and good for you. And that is exactly what we're talking about. This little micro evidence. Your mood has shifted slightly around. Would you do it again?
Yep.
Your conversation felt light with him and afterwards. You noticed maybe coincidences that aligned with your desire. Your desire was to meet a man of a certain type and he showed up, right? On the other side of the world. So you're suddenly making decisions that the future you would make. You're living in the assumption that there is someone out there for me.
So let's
And
talk about another piece to that, right?
okay,
Yes. What about, because I feel that I've come in with no expectation. Is that signaling the universe something different that I didn't have an expectation that this was going to go anywhere or be anything? It was just a point of, having a nice evening with another human.
that's part of it. But do you really want the real answer?
I'm afraid to say yes.
Because there you did have expectation, I'm going to argue.
Okay.
You just said 2 minutes ago, gosh, I could remember your exact words. Said something about well, first of all, you've said a couple of times, there's nobody over here for me because of my preferences. So guess what the universe is going to provide? Guess what, Sharon? We're going to give you evidence that there's nobody over here for you, right? And then you made an I know what you said. You said, well, let's face it, he lives in the Netherlands, so this is never going to go anywhere. Guess what? Your wish is my command. This is never going to go anywhere. Wouldn't it be fabulous to have a a global romance with someone that lives in a part of the world that you have maybe been to but never explored so much, and it turns into this global whirlwind where you go there and he comes here, and next thing you know, you're moving halfway to, like, you don't know where this is going to go, but you've already decided and believe, and listen to the words I'm saying, decided and believe, and saying the words and reinstating and reinforcing that this is never going to happen, that nothing's going to happen because he lives on the other side or he lives in Europe. So
I just made progress going out with somebody and having a lovely time.
you did, and you did, and you did, and but you see where I'm going with this?
I do. I do.
So I'm so proud of you. You did what I would call a micro action, a movement towards the thing you say you want, showing the universe you're serious, you're prepared to put in a little bit of effort, and the universe will meet you right back and surprise the heck out of you. So I'm proud of you.
So it's working even when it's not the theme
Yes.
of today.
It is, and again, this is a the easiest thing in the world to understand, and it's the most difficult thing in the world to understand because every little thing you believe snowballs, small stuff snowballs, the good snowballs and the snowballs you didn't actually think you hurled down the hill, and then it turns into a massive avalanche.
Right. Okay. So small stuff matters. You want me to look for the small stuff instead of
Yes.
thinking that nothing is happening.
Yes. So, as just to remind everybody what we're talking about what happens between the ask and the receive. Okay. And so, I like to do what's called evidence tracking. We just talked about it a little bit. I like to keep an evidence log every single day. We've talked about this before. I call it my miracle list. You call it your, what did you say you call it? Or my
Glimmers.
your glimmers. Yeah. Every
Yeah.
day, write down anything that feels like what we call alignment, which is the good stuff. Anything that's good, like my hummingbird showed up to my hummingbird feeder today. Or I got asked out on a date and it was beautiful and wonderful, and we shared a view of Penang for 3 hours, right? Whatever it is, write them down every single day because that's proof to your subconscious that this is working, it's on its way.
So basically, you want me to collect receipts on my future.
I totally want you to do that. I'll give
Okay.
you another analogy. I want you to imagine that your ask and your receive is like a bridge, okay? And at the start of the bridge, what does a bridge do? The bridge helps you to get across water, to go across rubble. There's a whole bunch of reasons why we build bridges, right? The bridge is everything.
Okay.
At the beginning of the bridge, as you embark across the bridge, you are asking for your thing, whatever it is. So let's say, for example, I'd love a love interest in my life. And at the end of the bridge, when you cross the other side, you have received your wish. It has manifested. What happens across the bridge matters. Do you enjoy the crossing of the bridge? Do you look over at the lily pads? Do you look at the view? Do you enjoy the journey across the bridge? Do you enjoy what you're seeing? Do you recognize that you're taking one step after another step and it's a beautiful thing? Or are you worried about crossing the bridge? Are you anxious the bridge will break? Are you worried that you'll never get there? Is there fear that it's taking too long? The bridge is everything. So, when doubt hits, when you're crossing that bridge, you have to flip through those, as you call them, receipts.
Mm-hmm.
I call them my evidence tracking list. You have to flip through the receipts to remind you that this is working so that you don't go into the it's not working spiral.
Right. Right.
It's like ego hits, right?
Yeah.
You need those little hits. You need a hit. You need, you're jonesing for a hit. You need a little hit of good news to remind you, wait a minute. But that happened. Somebody asked me out last week and we went on a nice date and we had a great time and he asked me out for dinner and he paid the bill and so on and so on.
Yeah. Yeah.
So
Okay. I'm hearing you. So maybe I am seeing some of the results. I'm just not giving them any credit.
yeah, like you have to double down on. I was just saying to you before we started this podcast that the older I get and the more I experience love, and that's a big word, but I put up a video a few weeks ago on my TikTok channel about finding the love when you think love is lost. And so many women commented on the fact that they think men they're always playing games. And so of course, if you think men are always playing games, that's what you're going to get. But I don't see that in my world. I have a man that is completely 100% in love with me and checks all the boxes. And the more I hang out with other men, I see them wanting the same things: partnership, love, loyalty, companionship, true soul sharing. And so, what I'm doing is I'm collecting receipts and evidence log of good men out there. I can't understand what these women are commenting on where they're game players because the men I experience, they might not stay with their partner forever, but they are searching for something very real and very true. That's what I'm experiencing. So it really depends on what evidence you want to log into your log.
And I think we're sort of focusing to a certain degree on romantic love, but I think there's a lot more to it than that in terms of evidence. And it's evidence of deep, meaningful friendships and experiences with other human beings that I think, there's receipts in that
100%.
when one is looking for love in their life. It doesn't necessarily need to be partnered.
It
And as
doesn't.
I said to you,
Yeah.
like I just was looking forward to having a very lovely interaction with another human being in a beautiful place. And so I think there's that aspect.
That is a great point. Why would you do it with just men when you don't do it with your friends?
Well,
Great
when you
point.
don't do it with everybody, right?
Right.
And
Yeah.
and I don't believe in walking around in the world saying it's all doom and gloom. There are people who are going to be aligned with you, and there are people who are simply not for whatever reason. They could be lovers, they could be family, they could be friends, they could be your local barista. But at the end of the day, I think if you walk around with the idea that I want to interact with other human beings in a beautiful way.
Yeah, that's such a great point. Now, I will say you've done a lot of work, right? And so you are able now to look at the evidence of love in all the right places. But there's a lot of women out there. And specifically, I'm talking to women because they tend to be the ones that I'm speaking to elsewhere. They've got a lens on this, and that is a great reminder for them. I'm just so grateful that you brought that up.
Yeah, thank you. But
Yeah.
that, I mean, that's the lens, right? And I think
Yeah.
in the world today, and I don't think the world has changed that much, but there's a lens at which we look at the world in general.
Yeah,
And if
for
you want to
sure.
see things blowing up and you want to see the strife and you want to see the inequity, I'm not saying it doesn't exist, but if that ends up being your sole focus,
Yeah.
that's what you'll see every day.
Okay, you're supposed to be the skeptic. You are now arguing for what you focus on manifests. That's what you just said. Where you focus is what you get. Thank you,
Right.
Sharon.
Except I don't look at it that way, right?
I
I
know,
look
but
at I look at it as a glass half full kind of girl in the world, but I see your point.
yeah, no, you just said it. I'm sorry. You're a believer.
Darn it. Still trying to manifest that lottery win.
Keep on keeping on, girlfriend. It's possible.
Okay, so we're going to have a second part to this, I think, right?
Yeah, exactly. I think that we're going to do a part B on this for next week, which will be around revision. So, how do we change the past to shape the future? But in leaving this one, give credit, build belief, write your evidence log, make a case for the outcome you want, not for the outcome you don't want. As Esther Hicks says, do not argue for your limitations.
Well, that's pretty deep.
Yeah, it's
Go
very
into
deep.
that a little bit more.
So, Esther Hicks, Abraham Hicks, I won't go into the rationale of who she is and what she does, but essentially she channels a spirit or the consciousness and has they wanted to be called Abraham. I know this sounds really woo, but there's a lot of deep learnings here, and it is deep. She says you're constantly arguing for your limitations, why it can't happen, why it won't happen, why it's bad news, why you're scared, why it will never work, why everything you've ever heard from everybody else is true, but the thing that you've got in your heart is not true. We argue for the limitations we have in our life all the time instead of arguing for the possibilities, arguing against what might be seen by the visible eye right now, arguing against what you call reality right now, arguing against against that for the possibility, for the hope, for the faith, for the fact that it could happen, for the fact that you're the one, for the fact that you are worthy. But we don't. So there's your negative half glass, half full, half empty scenario. We really
Right.
do tend to go to the negative instead of, why can't that happen for me? That can happen for me. Who says you're right? I could happen. Miracles happen. There is a power greater than me that can make things happen, and I'm going to believe in that.
So why do you think we do it? Fear, disappointment?
I think all of those things, sabotage, we don't want to get so excited about something and be let down again. But that's why you get let down again, because you believe in letting let down again. Instead of, and I know it's hard, but I say this all the time, and I have a bit of a rant about it. I don't want to hear you complain anymore if you don't put a really good morning practice into place, because that's what gives you the power and the confidence to go out there every day and slay the evil dragons of negativity.
Okay. So on that, why don't we park some of this and have a chat about this even further around revision for next week, next podcast, and see
Love it.
how we can change the past to shape the future.
Love it.
Okay.
But in this next week, guys, give credit when you see evidence of something that's on the way. Build your belief, and the bigger results can't help but follow.
Awesome. Thanks, Jen. Talk to you soon.